Hello, my name is Stone, and today I'm going to find out if you can beat Fable with just a stick. I wanted to do this because it's something I wondered about as a child playing this game, and because I have no respect for the fleeting time I've been given on this planet. The rules real quick. I can only deal damage to enemies with a stick. That's about it really. I won't be using any cheats or exploits, and I'll do my best to play in the spirit of the game. I was also going to ban the use of the shield spell because of how OP it is, but we'll see later why I had to give up on that. Load the game and Jesus. Right off the bat, I only ever played the original Fable, never the Anniversary Edition, so this is my first time seeing the HD graphics, and I must say, everyone is fucking hideous. What the hell were they thinking? Right, first things first, your dad tells you to do some good deeds around the town to get some money for your sister's present, and that's exactly what we're gonna do. I guard some boxes for a dude that talks weird while being taunted by a little bastard, rat on a guy for cheating on his harpy wife, and rescue a teddy bear from this jackass shit. I can't get the bear without punching him. No bear means no gold piece. No gold means no gift. And no gift means we stay trapped in the tutorial forever. Well, now's as good a time as any to say that if I'm ever forced into a situation where I must break my stick-only rule, then I will just do so and continue on as best I can. But hey, I'm sure this kind of thing won't happen again, right? So here, kid, have a knuckle sandwich. I trade my good deeds for gold, which kind of throws the morality of my actions into question, then use them to buy my sister's present. She returns the favor by sticking me in the worst hiding spot ever and letting me watch a man die. After standing in that field for 6 hours, my character finally musters up the courage to go check on Dad, and the result will not shock you. It does shock the shit out of this bandit, though. We meet a strange old man who tells us to take his hand just seconds after he killed somebody, and then berates us for not being able to stomach his glowing white mana. Very suspect. He brings me to the Heroes Guild, tells me what it does, what I'll be doing, and what he'll be doing to me. After being insulted by the guildmaster, and being told the dorms are co-ed, I am left to cry myself to sleep. For a fantasy game, this is surprisingly realistic. Dawn of the first day. God, I hate Whisper. This may be the first time I'm playing this game in 12 years, but I needed no reminder for just how annoying she is. And the new textures make her look like she got hit with a fistful of bees. After kicking her ass in a race down to the training grounds, I began combat training under the guildmaster's sage advice. And fuck. When I decided I was going to do this challenge, I had it in my head that you receive the stick before you have to hit the first training dummy. But no, I am required to punch my target again. And so, for the second time, I have to break my rule and use my fists instead of a stick. Man, this challenge is really getting off to a rough start. But you know what? That's not fair. I haven't even been given the stick yet, so what else am I supposed to do? Surely, once I have my legendary Rod of Beating, I'll never run into this problem again. Right, of course. Once I have it, everything will be smooth sailing. So let's make like an armchair politician and beat this straw man's ass. Finally, I am given a true weapon, a device of pure torture designed to drain the target's will to live, to suck the life force right out of their very bones. Unfortunately, the target is whoever happens to be holding it, and that just so happens to be me. But I don't know any of that yet, so for now, I remain wide-eyed and optimistic. After whooping up on another straw man, I beat this dork in a time trial race, give this lady some apples so she can give me a not apple pie, spy on Mace chatting with Skeletor, I'm sure he's a good guy, and kill some bugs in the woods. After wrapping all that up in about 8 minutes, I'm given the choice to A, continue the game, or B, keep fucking around in here with literally no reward or reason to do so. Really makes me wonder if the developers had planned for the child stage of the game to last longer than it did. Oh well. One slideshow training montage later, and I awaken a gangly teenager. I run back down to the training ring to where the guildmaster gives me a sword and tells me to hack up Whisper. Sorry, Gramps, as much as I'd love to, I'm afraid my trusty stick is the only weapon for me. I have no need of your filthy sword. En garde! What? What the hell? I am clearly hitting her. Why won't the number go up? You've got to be kidding me. Well, after a few minutes of beating Whisper to a pulp, I can see that hitting Whisper with the stick doesn't count. I haven't even finished the tutorial yet, and already the game is making a mockery of my would-be challenge run. I even booted up Fable the Lost Chapters to see if that version of the game would let me use the stick. No. Fine. Fine. New rule. The run officially starts when the tutorial ends and I'm actually given the freedom to use the weapon I want. I can't take this shit anymore. I equip the filthy fucking sword, beat Whisper senseless, and then beat her again just to embarrass her in front of her dick brother, which I'm actually allowed to use the stick for. Also, what the hell? I know the HD textures have been fucking up everybody's shit so far, but I definitely don't remember Thunder having male pattern baldness. And if he did, it didn't look this bad. He might be an asshole, but I at least remember him looking cool and intimidating. Now he looks like that one guy who's always bragging about his high school football career, even though he's pushing 30. I half-assed my way through bow and magic training, because honestly, who gives a shit about that nerd stuff? And we hit another time skip where I'm either a strapping young lad or a runty full-grown adult. I've never been able to tell which. I'm sent to the woods to fight Maze, and hey, go figure, the stick doesn't count again. So I angrily take out the filthy fucking stupid fucking sword and exact vengeance on Maze for all the childhood trauma he gave me. One short graduation later, and I am finally the master of my own destiny, and no one will ever be able to force me to not use a stick again. Right? Anyway, the guild master tries to get me to die one last time.
Step into the light.
And I put an upgrade level into physique, because if I can't improve my stick, I can at least improve the arm holding it. I take the wasp quest on the table and then hit the road, where I immediately stop to smack a kid across the teeth with a tree branch. That taken care of, I head to the cliff, where a bunch of full-grown humans are getting their ass beat by some oversized wasps. Not much to say here, the wasps go down easy and even the queen can barely take a couple of hits. Easy peasy. With that done, I hit up the town of Bowerstone to see if they've got any good weapons, but all they had is a bunch of useless swords. He did have a couple of cool looking sticks, but they all had strings attached to them in a way that seemed very impractical for hitting things with. This must be one of those style over substance things. I meet a woman who asks me to enable her son's drug habit, to which I agree, and then a man who asks me to donate books to the school, to which I also agree. You know, I wish there was one time in a video game where accepting every single quest you run into was somehow a bad thing. It would at least give me a moment's hesitation. After fucking around in Bowerstone for just way too long, I head back to the guild to pick up my next quest, protecting Orchard Farm. Getting there isn't too bad, but already the wasps are starting to take 2 hits instead of 1, and that does not bode well. And bode well it does not, as the next map I enter I encounter my first bandit, which takes me 6 hits to bring down. Not bad on its own, but you regularly fight groups of 5 or more. That's 25 or more attacks to bring down a group of starting enemies. Oh no. My fears are immediately founded when I reach the farm and the quest begins. Not only do the bandits take 6 to 8 hits to kill, but they can block my attacks and do decent damage with their own attacks. Also, as far as I can tell, you cannot perform a ground execution with the stick, so I can't finish off any enemies that get stunned on the ground. Despite those setbacks, the rest of the quest is uneventful. One bandit sneaks by for a moment, but we beat him down before he can get away with the goods we're protecting, which one of the guards even picks up and takes back to the barn we are guarding, which I thought was very nice. Whisper shows up just to be rude, or maybe she's on the bandit side? That's implied in the conversation earlier, but she really doesn't seem bothered with fulfilling the bandit's quest, which, you know, as a hero you think she would be compelled to do. Also, a good time to point out that in this world, hero just means powerful person who wins fights for whoever can offer a reward, be they good or evil. That said, evil quests are pretty thin on the ground, and all the enemies you fight are forces of evil, so you're pretty railroaded into being a morally good character, regardless of what you do in your spare time. After knocking Whisper on our ass for the 3rd time, I talk to the farmer and head back to the guild for more leveling up. I want to put as many points into the strength tree as possible, for obvious reasons. The 2 quests available to me now are Trader Escort through Darkwood, fuck no, and a hob killing contest back at Orchard Farm, which I picked because I think I'll be able to get a decent chunk of experience. On my way to Orchard Farm, I encounter a trader who asks me to escort him to Orchard Farm. I agree because I'm already going there, duh, and I could use the extra cash. Well, he gets killed fucking immediately. What happened was I told him to wait right at the entrance to the area with the idea that I'd run ahead and kill all the enemies first. But it seems that if you move far enough away from him, the game just spawns an enemy right next to him, who chopped him into cold cuts before I even realized something was wrong. Well, sorry buddy, guess I let you down. Hey, he did drop a big ass gemstone from his corpse, so not all bad when you think about it. The forest is now filled with bandits instead of wasps, which is a chore, but I still take the time to clear them out since I'll need as much XP as possible. I arrive at Orchard Farm to start the hob hunting quest, and let me tell you, if you thought this challenge would be easy because Fable isn't a super difficult game, this is the first real roadblock. Let me lay it out. For this quest, you're supposed to kill as many hobs as possible before the time limit ends, and Whisper is there as well, fighting the same hobs. Only thing is that it's not enough to kill a bunch of hobs, you have to kill more than Whisper or the quest fails. What's the problem with that? We've kicked her ass several times at this point, outkilling her should be no problem. Turns out, big problem. Turns out, Whisper is good at one thing and one thing only, kill stealing. She has a zooming spear thrust attack that can cover damn near the entire fighting arena we are in, and her AI makes her attack whichever hob you are currently fighting, which means after you wear down the hob with your stick, she zooms in at the last moment to get the kill. This problem is compounded by the fact that the hobs have 2 to 3 times the health of the bandits, meaning I've got no options for killing them quickly, and even if I manage to keep Whisper away, she can still kill hobs faster than me, even without stealing my kills. After a couple of attempts, I realize I'm just not going to be able to beat her at my current level, and so I set off for Greatwood Forest to grind bandits. In the original version of the game, you could do what's called a hero save in the middle of a quest, which would let you keep the experience you had gained even if you had failed the quest, providing a convenient way to grind XP if needed. That feature has been removed from Anniversary Edition as far as I can tell, so each failed attempt at the quest is just a waste of time. Killing the bandits in the forest also gets me some gold, so I buy some leather armor so I can take a few more hits. A new enemy has started appearing in the forest now, this little fairy sprite bastard thing, and it proves to be a real fucking chore to fight. Most of the time it flies out of reach and spams magic attacks, only coming down occasionally and briefly. Couple that with my low damage output, and each one is a tedious war of attrition that I really grew to hate. It was also at this point that I gave up the no magic rule, as I desperately needed the shield spell to help me stop getting interrupted in the middle of my attacks. Having to hit each enemy a dozen times is bad enough without a third of your attacks being cancelled by getting hit. But with my strength upgraded and armor and magic shield equipped, I returned to Orchard Farm to take on the quest. I realized that my best bet was to fight the hobs that were as far away from Whisper as possible and to always try and keep distance between us. If I can at least keep her from stealing my points, I should be just fine. And just fine I was, finally beating Whisper with a comfortable lead of 15 to 12. I head back to the Heroes Guild for the only quest available, Escort through Darkwood. I've kind of been dreading this one since I know what's waiting for me, but there's no point worrying about it yet, so I accept the quest and hit the road. Also, new tougher bandits have started spawning in the woods already, so that's great. Honestly, Darkwood went a lot smoother than I had anticipated. I thought the Balverines would have a ton of health, but they seemed to go down in the same number of hits as the Hobbs, and most of Darkwood was a pretty easy fight. The ground troll at the end was a bit of a pain, just because I did almost no damage to his monstrous health bar, but you can see the attacks coming a mile away, so all it took was some patience and he eat his last haw. Upon leaving Darkwood Forest, you find yourself back in Oakvale, which is pretty neat even though there's not all that much to do. Maze informs you that a nearby bandit camp led by Twinblade houses someone known as the Blind Seer, and that person should be able to help you find your family. Once you get your hands on some bandit clothing, you can sneak into the camp and walk among the bandits freely, which is a part of the game I always enjoyed. Honestly, I wish there was more stuff like this in the game, or maybe you could decide to join up with the bandits or something. Oh well. After working my way into the elite part of camp, I need to cause a diversion to get Twinblade himself, which I do by slowly beating this jailer to death and releasing these prisoners, which causes every single bandit in the camp to run out for some reason. Using the diversion, I slip into Twinblade's inner circle, literally, where the big man himself is waiting. Let's see what we're working with. Ah, that's not good. So, here's the skinny. Hitting Twinblade in the front is useless. He either blocks the attack or takes so little damage it honestly doesn't matter. In contrast, his attacks take big chunks out of both my mana when he hits my shield and my health once my shield is down. Also, we are surrounded by his lackeys, who will take a swing at me if I get too close, meaning I've got to be careful when opening distance or evading. My only chance to attack him is when he does this overhead ground slam, and even then he only takes damage from behind and I only get to hit him once. This is going to be a very long fight. One good thing is that using the spell Multi-Strike does at least let me do more damage when I do get my opening, but it's not all that much more. Finally, after 7 real-life minutes of fighting, the king goes down and I get to meet the Blind Seer, who turns out to be my long-lost sister. Big Sis teaches me how to go Super Saiyan, and then bounces, where I'm left to decide what to do with Twinblade. I decide to kill all the bandits who watched our fight, then take out Twinblade himself, because the heroes of Albion do not negotiate with terrorists. After taking all my newly gained XP to the guild and leveling, I head to Bowerstone to buy and upgrade a house to then rent out and get me some passive income. Never know if I might need some cash later. I also buy the house in Oakvale for good measure. I report back to Maze on finding my sister, and he sends me to rescue a friend of his, but before that I take a quest to rescue some traders from the bandit camp to try and earn some XP. The bandits are a high enough level now that each battle is a slog, taking well over a dozen hits to bring a single enemy down. Couple that with the fact I need to keep these traders alive to complete this quest, and this mission became pretty annoying. Eventually though, I was able to grind my way through, rescue the traders, collect my reward, and hand out about 1,000 splinters among the bandit population. After that I spend some more time grinding enemies in Greatwood Forest. A blessing and a curse in this game is that enemies scale with you, so while they never get easier to kill, they also keep awarding you a reasonable amount of XP, so I'm not stuck farming tiny bits of experience. Eventually I grind enough to get my strength stats to level 7 and get enough gold to buy full plate armor, and now I'm finally ready to head to Witchwood and rescue Maze's friend. Upon entering Witchwood, you encounter your first rock troll, and it's no exaggeration to say that the damage I am doing to this thing is pathetic. It takes me 3.5 minutes to bring Big Ugly down, and that does not bode well for future enemies. Up next is a demon door that requires you to know his name to open, which you enter by hitting some rocks down the road. The door's name is Hits, and while I get what they were going for, that never made any sense to me. What kind of name is Hits? Oh, and if you spell shit instead, the door sends Balverines to attack you. Once inside the door, Maze's friend realizes he can be found, and after giving you a lead for finding your mother, he leaves to try and hide somewhere better. Past the door is the Temple of Avo, a place of worship for the god of this universe. On a cliff just above the temple is a rock with a sword lodged in it, a powerful late-game weapon that I might actually have the strength to remove already, but seeing as I have no use for it, I don't even bother to try. I pop by the guild real quick to pick up my next quest and return to Witchwood, only to find the Balverines have increased in both health and number. With all pun intended, things are starting to get hairy. The bandits have also received some upgrades, sporting master-grade weapons and beefy health bars. I eventually fight my way to Knothole Glade, a large village beset by Balverines, where I encounter one of the toughest foes yet, the White Balverine. I get pretty worried when the village chief tells me that the White Balverine can only be harmed by a weapon with a silver augmentation, since I can't put any augments on my stick, but Fuzzball and I duke it out again, and he still seems to take damage from a non-silver weapon, so we're safe for now. After WB flees, I chase him into the woods where I make a disheartening discovery. A silver augment may not be required, but it certainly fucking helps. Now the problem here is that all the enemies up to this point that barely take any damage have been slow with easily dodged attacks. Good old Whitey here is the exact opposite of slow. In fact, he is very fucking fast, and each one of his hits carves out a massive chunk of my shield. In fact, he's probably the hardest hitting enemy yet. Fortunately, I now have a spell called Slow Time, which allows me to stun lock him as long as I have the mana to keep casting it. Unfortunately, after I do some damage, he calls him back up, and that could be a problem. Even using Slow Time, this battle still took 6 real-life minutes, and I burned through almost all of my mana potions. Some might say that Slow Time makes this challenge too easy, but honestly, without it, you would stand no chance. The Balverine is too aggressive, too fast, and just hits too hard. If I didn't have a way to keep him stunned, he would shred me to pieces long before I could wear him down with this stupid stick. With the White Balverine defeated, I return to the village chief, who gives me my reward and gives me an endorsement to fight in the arena, a Coliseum-style place for blood sport where I'm hoping to find some info on my mom. The arena starts off pretty uneventful. I fight wasps and then hobs, but things kick up a notch when Whisper joins me in the fight and the Balverines show up. Not just regular ones either, several white Balverines just as tanky as the first, making this fight slow going and a massive drain on my potions. After the Balves come the undead, and what they lack in speed they make up for with defense, and here's where the pain of only using a stick really starts to set in as each enemy takes an absurd number of hits to bring down. After those undead, you'd think that bandits would be a welcome sight, but these guys are high level and not making my life any easier, especially since they have a high chance of blocking your attacks. Also, at this point, I finally ran out of mana potions, which means my shield and slow time will be severely limited. Next is a pair of hill trolls, or grass trolls maybe, I can't remember. Anyway, now that my magic is limited, I'm taking way more hits and dealing much less damage, and without my shield, I'm constantly getting knocked down by their attacks. Whisper is at least drawing some aggro, but honestly, I don't know if she managed to land a single hit on them. Eventually they go down, but this battle has cost me the last of my health potions, and we're not done yet. And so, with no mana potions and no health potions, time for the next round, a pair of rock trolls. Great. I decide to hell with Magic Shield and Multi-Strike, and just spend every bit of mana I scrape together on Slow Time, since it allows me to both get more hits in and better dodge attacks. This fight goes on for 10 minutes straight, and costs me 3 Resurrection Vials, but eventually the giants are toppled, just one more round to go. The fight starts, and the Scorpion immediately starts whooping my ass. It's surprisingly fast, and for several attacks, its entire body is the hitbox, so avoiding damage is much harder. Additionally, the only time it takes any real damage is when it's charging its eye laser, so my windows for offense are limited. Luckily, I get thrown a few health and mana potions from the crowd, which is a reward for keeping the spectators entertained throughout all the rounds. About halfway through the fight, I realize that the best strategy for me is to just play defensively until I have enough mana to cast Slow Time, then do so and move in for as much damage as possible. Once I stopped being so aggressive all the time, this fight got a lot easier and the Scorpion goes down without too much trouble. With the arena completed, the Jack of Blades arrives and decrees that Whisper and I should have a duel. This is the first time I've fought Whisper since the hob hunting quest that she made hell for me, so let me say that getting to beat the snot out of her was quite cathartic. Once I win the fight, Jack tells me I should execute her for an even greater reward, and although the offer is tempting, I'll have to pass. The humiliation of being beaten senseless with a tree branch in front of hundreds of people is punishment enough. Interestingly, she tells you that if she had won the bout, that she would have spared you, but somehow I really doubt that. Now that the arena is finally over, I am approached by Lady Grey, who says she likes me, Thunder, who says he wants to kill me, and Mr. Blades, who informs us that he's been holding our mom captive for the last 15 years or so. My guy probably has a lot of conflicting feelings right now. Also, a clearly evil dude just told us he's got our mom hostage and for some reason we don't immediately attack him. Instead, he just gives you the reward and then I guess we just walk away. I swear, if it's not printed on a quest card for the main character, he just does not give a fuck. Then, the second I step out of the arena, I'm told that my sister wants to see me, and honestly, I feel like all these interactions could have been spaced out a little better. All I need now is the Guildmaster popping in to remind me to fucking breathe.
Your health is low.
After fucking around in Knothole Glade, I take a quest to rescue a trader's brother. That quest goes pretty easily. The bandits are tanky as fuck, but I only face a few at a time, so it's manageable. Then I get hired by a guard to kill a local assassin, but it turns out the assassin is the guard's brother, and he only wants him dead so he doesn't have to split their inheritance. So I humbly take the assassin's bribe, and then kill him anyway. I'd planned to kill both of them, but once you kill the assassin and go back to the guard, you don't really get an option to kill him, and I figured if I just started swinging, the whole town would turn on me, so I guess he gets to have his way on this one. Whisper shows up out of the blue to say sorry for being an asshole our entire lives, and then bounces to an entirely different country. I guess that loss was more embarrassing than I had realized. The next thing to do is to head to Bowerstone North and meet Lady Grey, who is clearly an evil person, but also the only love interest in the game with any kind of personality. So evil will have to do, I guess. She's also the only one with unique dialogue and a plot line, so the pickings are slim. She sends me off to get her a gift, but is it really a gift if you had to ask for it? Anyway, while searching for her gift, I stumble across a vendor selling an augment for health regen. It costs more than every house in the game combined, but I am nonetheless intrigued. I make a mental note to investigate later. I spend some time scouring the guild for something. Don't really remember what I thought I would find. The guildmaster comes out and I'm just digging holes in the fucking yard. Looking for treasure. Then I went around the world collecting silver keys again for some reason. I'm not sure what I was hoping to gain with them. It's at this point I start getting really annoyed that the camera on the map screen snaps to warp points and won't let me scroll as I please. Can I free look around the map, please? No? Fuck you. But I do finally develop a tactic for the annoying fairy enemies, and spend way too long trying to figure out the Fisher Creek area, where I start asking the real questions. I don't know, do plants need to sleep? That sounds ridiculous when I say it out loud. Turns out collecting the keys would take a lot longer than I had expected. Me being fucking stupid didn't help. Did I already get this key too? But there are no ripples, which makes me think I probably already got this key. What the hell was that? What the hell's going on here? Oh, fuck! I also get jumped by an assassin and give him the caning of his fucking life. You know, even though I'm sick to death of every fight taking 10 minutes, I really am enjoying playing Fable again. And honestly, I really want to play this game just for fun once this is over. I want to play it. I want to play it without a fucking stick. I want to use a real weapon. But it's a good game. We'll see if I still feel this way by the end. After I'm done fucking about, I give Lady Grey her present, and she gives me another task to complete, this time finding her necklace. While looking for the necklace, I find a guy telling me that Lady Grey is a monster, but I ignore him, for she is my beloved, and I don't care how many people tell me she murdered her sister. That is slander. Finding the necklace is trivial, and my final task for winning her hand will be to beat Thunder in a duel, so I set off to find him. And found. He was literally in the next area. Right as I'm ready to beat his ass, though, he says he wants to fight up on the hill for some reason and takes off down the road and I give chase. I also accidentally pick up a bow which auto-equips and it must have been covered in superglue because now I can't unequip it. The path ahead is full of undead, who aren't much of a threat but take a lot of hits to go down. After momentarily being struck with dementia... What did I fish out of the pond? Was that a fucking key? Or was it just a fish? Shit, I don't even remember what I just fished out of the fucking pond. I continue onward. I'm not really sure why I stopped to fight every enemy. I don't think it was required, but I did so anyway and it took for fucking ever. When I make it to Thunder, a crowd is gathered to watch our fight, and what I want to know is how all these peasants made it up here past the hordes of undead, but whatever. The fight begins, and this is just embarrassing. He's as slow as Twinblade, and unlike Twinblade, his back is always vulnerable to damage. Combine that with slow time and multi-strike, and even with just a stick, I cut down his health quickly. For a moment, I worry I'll run out of mana potions and might have to fight him fair, but I don't think I'll have to worry about that. Once he's down to about half health, he tries to kamikaze us both off a cliff, but fails to do so much as injure either one of us, and after my character just stares at him awkwardly for a few seconds, we recommence the fight. For about 30 seconds. Then he flees into a cave for some reason, and I stop to fish real quick before following him inside. For some reason, I keep expecting this fight to change or evolve in some way, but he never seems to pull any new moves or change his attack pattern in any way, so after another minute or so, Big Chungus goes down just like his sister. Now, I really thought I would get the option to kill or spare him, like with Whisper and Twinblade, but he just acknowledges his defeat and limps away. It's not that I would kill him if I were given the choice, I have no reason to and don't really care, I just think it's weird this is the one time you don't get the option. Once the fight is over, I find a chest in the cave that contains a mana augmentation, which will allow me to passively regen mana and will therefore be incredibly useful. I can't put any mana augments on my stick, but I can put them onto a bow or crossbow and still gain the effect even when the weapon isn't being used as long as I have it equipped, which I'm going to allow since I won't be doing any damage with the bow and just be using it for the passive effects. After getting indignant at a chest for giving me a shovel, who the fuck wouldn't have a shovel by this point? I pawn most of my stuff to get enough money for a masterwork crossbow. Just one augment isn't exactly game breaking, it takes 3 minutes to completely recharge my mana bar, but it could really come in handy if I ever run out of potions in a fight. With that done, I head back to Merry Lady Grey and I gotta say, pretty anticlimactic. A short cutscene plays, I loot some decent items for her house, and that's about it. She only has a handful of new things to say, otherwise she just stands there the same as always.
Are you just gonna stand there like a lemon?
I figure I've put off meeting up with my sister long enough, and she tells me I need to find the archaeologist. who in turn will help me find our mom. Turns out the archaeologist got captured in the same area that I just went through to fight Thunder, which is lame, but this time instead of undead, the path is blocked by Jack's monster demon things, and let me tell you, they are not fun. They have a colossal amount of health, do hefty damage, and love to block my attacks, making each of them practically a mini-boss. I start making my way through the areas, and I just cannot overstate how long this took. It takes 30 hits to bring down a single one of these things, and that's with half of my attacks using multi-strike, which effectively triples my damage for those hits, meaning it could potentially take 60 or more hits without multi-strike. Which is what I'm about to be stuck with, because using slow time, multi-strike, and physical shield simultaneously and continuously has skyrocketed my mana consumption, and between the three, multi-strike is the least important. Once I reach the area where the dude is being held prisoner, I make the stupid decision to run past all the enemies and straight to him, thinking it'll trigger a cutscene and the enemies will disappear. Well, they don't, and now I get to fight all 10 of them at the same time on this dock. At this point, I decide to abandon the shield spell and focus entirely on slow time with the occasional multi-strike to break the enemy's guard when they block, and spend the next 15 minutes slowly whittling down the crowd. Once that slugfest is over, the archaeologist tells me how to get into the prison where my mother is being kept and pieces out. The guildmaster tells me that there are some new quests available, but after the slog I just went through, I'm ready to be done with this challenge, and so I make a beeline for the graveyard where the entrance to the prison lies. You meet a ghost who will open the way for you, but only once you retrieve his armor, which has been scattered around the place. The undead make this task a little annoying, but nothing impossible, though it did take me a while to realize that they will spawn infinitely, so there's absolutely no point in stopping to fight them. Once in the next area, I can run past all the undead except for the giant one at the end, who has to be killed for the next door to open, so I beat on him for a couple minutes and continue. This next part though, I thought I was going to be actually fucked. You have to kill a bunch of undead while they are standing on the stone circle, no big deal, but halfway through this process, I ran out of mana potions. Oh shit. Finishing my current fight while low on mana won't be too hard, but spoiler warning, once you go into the prison, you won't be coming out for a while, and it's not exactly like there's going to be a general store in the middle of Alcatraz. So I can either bail on this fight, go buy some potions, then work my way back here all over again, or I can say fuck it and continue on since I'm already here. I decided to go with option B, and this, as we will see, was incredibly fucking stupid. Once inside the prison, it's just more undead. I managed to find a few mana potions by breaking barrels, but these are going to have to be saved for later because who knows if I'll find more. The underground path to the prison has all kind of fun things in it, like more infinitely respawning undead, a new version of the fairy fuck enemy I hate, and small rooms that keep locking me inside and then summoning a bunch of monsters to beat my ass. On top of that, the guards who spawn here are elite level and take chunks of my health with every hit, and take so long to kill I give up and just try to run past everyone while they pelt me with crossbow bolts, because there were 13 guards in a single room and to hell with that. I do go around breaking every crate and barrel looking for mana potions, but have little luck. I make it to the depths of the prison and finally come face to face with my mother, only for her to call me stupid and then demand I release her. Not exactly the heartfelt reunion you'd expect. Of course, as soon as we head outside, all those guards I ignored are waiting for us, so many that they literally block the entire staircase. I do what I can with the few potions I manage to find, but those are soon exhausted and then the beatings begin. The saving grace of this section is that your mom can't die. At least I don't think she can. So as long as you can withstand getting mauled in a 10-on-1, you'll make it through. Eventually I club them all to death, only to walk into the next room and immediately run into the Jack of Black, who has his minions take us prisoner even though I definitely could have slaughtered them all. And now we have finally arrived at the absolute worst part of the game, at least for me, being a prisoner. I can't stand this part, but there's no way out but through, so let's do this. Also, I haven't seen my dude in a while because he's been buried in a pile of plate armor, but goddamn I'm huge. So anyway, this guard mocks me for a bit, then tells me my powers won't work, then pieces out. My cellmate implies that I've been getting tortured for a while, then tells me about the prisoner race, which if I win, I'll go to the warden's office, though it's implied I'll just be tortured more. Okay, so here's what I hate about this part. The whole idea of Fable is choices mattering, decide your path, yada yada yada, and to be fair, most of the time you are allowed a decent amount of freedom. That all disappears with this though. There's no option for getting in or leaving the prison, nor any of the things you do while you're there. If I'm evil, I should be able to overthrow the Jack of Blades, or at least team up with him. Or maybe if my mom takes too much damage during the initial escape, then I'm captured, but if I can keep her safe, we can make it out on the first try. But I know I'm asking a lot of a very old game, and this isn't supposed to be about the quality of the story writing, it's about torturing myself with something very, very tedious. So let's get back at her. Side note, I love the way this guard talks.
Right, you miserable sods. I want to see a dirty race. Plenty of pushing and shoving. You hear me?
Absolute fucking clown. The race is stupid easy. Your opponents run much slower than you do, and the guards are constantly signposting the route, so there's no chance of getting lost. You know, it wasn't until I laid eyes on the warden that I realized how stupid it is that every single guard has the same face. Like, Like, yeah, sure, the regular guards can be clones, they're not worth the effort, but you could really make the fucking warden a unique character. Come on, man. The warden takes me to his office, and the gimmick here is that he reads a poem to you while you sneak around the room looking for a code to unlock one of 3 books. And if I may take a second here, this is just so stupid for so many reasons. Why would he nail his own poem to the wall instead of just, holding it? Why would the code for the book be on his notice board? Why am I still in my underwear? Well, guess what? The answer to all of these questions is fuck you, because no matter what you do in this room, you don't pick the right book on your first try. Not because you made some sort of mistake or anything, but because it is hard-coded into the fucking game that you picked the wrong one on your first try. And all I want to know is fucking why. How does this possibly add value to my time with the game? To save time, I get the code, use it on the book, wrong book, warden gets mad I didn't pay attention to his poem, guards drag me off and torture me, a fucking year passes, the race happens again, I win again, back in the warden's office we go. Can I just point out he's reading a poem about Lady Grey, who is my wife at this point? Get the code, pick a book, and bam, I've got the key out of this hell. I'm put back in my cell, and as soon as the guard leaves, I unlock my door and start looking for anything I can find. I don't even have time to worry about how I'll fight these guards because the first barrel I break gives me the ultimate in offensive weaponry, a brand new stick. Armed with a limb, I free all the other prisoners and we head out into the courtyard. Well, we run up on the first guard and most of my fellow prisoners get bodied immediately, so much for that. And I'm not doing too hot either with no armor or health potions, so I say to hell with it and just run off to find my mom, but she won't leave till I got my equipment back. I head back out and find a guard outfit, which I put on for the armor, but then have to immediately take off because it turns out all my gear is here in the same room, kinda weird, and I hoof it back to my mom with the last of the prisoners dying along the way. And just when I thought things couldn't get any more annoying, guess who has a health bar now? It's Mom, and unlike most NPC followers, I don't have the option of telling her to wait in a corner while I take care of everything, so she'll be standing right next to me in convenient stabbing range while I slowly beat down every guard. The good news is I managed to find a few will potions in the prison. The bad news is I have to use them sparingly because I know what's ahead of us. In the swamp, there's infinitely spawning undead, but I know now just to ignore them and beeline the door, which fortunately wasn't a trap this time. More tunnels, more guards. I try out the Berserk spell this time to see if it made a difference, and while it does do double damage, it also makes me walk like an asshole, and I find the sound and visual effects to be very annoying. Not nearly as annoying as our next boss fight, though, the prison sewer Kraken. This guy was bad fucking news. You can only hit it when one of the tentacles slams down, so I pretty quickly realized that slow time wasn't going to be an option. In return, he hits like a freight train, which is made even worse by the fact that your mom is fucking following you around the battlefield like a lost puppy, so even if you dodge the attack, there's a good chance she's going to get clobbered. But all of this would be manageable if not for one issue. Hitting the tentacles doesn't actually damage it. No, instead you need to defeat every single tentacle in order for it to show its head, which can then be damaged. But don't think we're out of the woods yet, because the head spends most of the time in the middle of the pond where you can't reach, only occasionally coming near enough to hit, and all the while firing off goddamn eraser guns. And once you get to half health, it disappears and you have to go through the tentacle rigmarole again. All told, this took me a little over 17 minutes. 17! That's longer than I've spent on some Elden Ring bosses. My mom was also beaten literally half to death in this process. The beast finally goes down, and I am awarded so little experience from it that I am actually unironically insulted, but I am finally free of this hell. Once outside, Mom says I have to go to Darkwood and activate a portal to the Hook Coast so we can get a key to unlock a sword that will stop Jack, and man, I'm remembering now that I don't find the second half of Fable's story very compelling. There's a reason I know Bowerstone like the back of my hand but couldn't pick the Hook Coast out of a lineup, and it's because things really go to shit after you win the arena. Mom teaches me to go Super Saiyan 2, and then I'm off to Darkwood. You know, the Guildmaster really doesn't seem concerned.
Your guild seal has been reactivated. Welcome back. Check the guild for more quests. You've received a new quest card.
That I disappeared for a year, I think. At least 1 year. Could be 2 or 3, though. I don't think they ever specify. In addition to the next main quest, I unlocked a bunch of new side quests, but you are out of your goddamn mind if you think I'm going to drag this bullshit out any further. I do run through all the towns and buy every mana potion I can get my hands on because I'm not making that mistake again. Now, unfortunately, I lost a little bit of footage here, but not much, and we'll speed through the missing part. I pop back to Darkwood and head to the Cullis Gate, and I honestly thought I was boned here. It's similar to the prison entrance, and then I have to kill enough undead to fill the bar, but this time the bar slowly ticks down in between kills, and I legit could not kill them fast enough with my pitiful damage. Eventually what I did was try to hit them all as evenly as possible so that 2 or 3 would go down around the same time, and with some careful counting in 10 or so minutes I was able to pull it off. I go to the Hook Coast only to immediately be told to turn around and come back to the Heroes Guild. just in time to watch my mom get kidnapped by Jack's minions, again. I grabbed the book she had been working with and take it to the guildmaster, who asked us if we want to start the final mission of the game. Yes, please God yes, let's be done with this. I pop back to Hook Coast and find the villagers fleeing from banshees. I was worried for a second about how tough a new enemy this late in the game would be, but they were pathetic and I pushed their shit in with zero effort. We then find Maze, who is revealed to have been a traitor when J of B arrives to trap us and use our life force to reveal the key that he's been searching for. I love that while I'm writhing on the floor in pain, Jack makes fun of me for taking so long to break out of prison. He's a real salt in the wounds kind of guy. Well, he takes the key and bolts, and my sister instantly frees me and then also bolts, leaving just me and Maze, and you know what that means. It's time to duel. Well, we know how this goes. He hits like a bag of bricks, I hit like a bag of bubbles, I cast a slow time spell, he casts the invincibility frames on knockdown spell, I use physical shield, he's got one of them too. He's also got a health bar like a fucking rock troll, but who doesn't these days? Even so, his narrow staff is no match for the girth of my rod, and after 12 minutes, Maze gets shucked like an ear of corn. Right after that fight, the guildmaster calls me back to the guild to tell me that Jack is doing some hood rat shit, stealing wagon rims, and we gotta squash him. For this next part, we get to team up with a different hero on some of the maps, and the first one up is Rose, who I don't think I've even mentioned in this video yet, and who I've only met in-game once, I think. But whatever, we're foxhole buddies now, I guess. Well, except I have no intention of fighting anyone I don't have to at this point, so I blaze through the battlefield in about 30 seconds and pop to the next location. Nothing much interesting happens for a bit. I made the decision to run past all these enemies and I'm not looking back, but I do run into Thunder at one point, who only makes it through a room and a half before being overcome with exhaustion. What a fucking dweeb. Well, we completely failed to stop Jack from whatever the hell he was doing, so now it's back to the guild one last time to end this. We find the guildmaster wounded, but unfortunately are given no way to execute him for being such a goddamn annoyance this entire game. Instead, he gives us one last quest card and like, seriously? Do we really need this to be issued to us on a quest? I think we're kind of past that point, buddy. Anyway, I head to the Chamber of Fate where I am met with a very disheartening sight. I'll let my past self take it from here. Fuck. Alright, I know this bow is here because they have to make sure you have a ranged weapon before you enter this fight, which means I'm going to have to use the ranged weapon to shoot down Jack. Yep, I've played enough games to know how this works. That is not a good sign. Well, let's get in there and do our best, I suppose. Maybe I can find a workaround. I walk in just in time to see Jack kill my mom. God, my character always has the worst timing. Then Jack zaps in about a dozen of his nightmare soldiers, and I start administering beatings to anyone who will get close enough. Only when they're all dead does Jack drop his barrier, and at that point, he's basically a souped-up Maze. Blocking, teleporting, and hucking around magic. Only difference is he's got a big fuck-off sword that he occasionally beats me with. After about 8 minutes, I get him down to half health, and he teleports back to the center of the room to do exactly what I was hoping he wouldn't. He hops about 10 feet into the air and refuses to come down. I try for a minute to hit him in some way or another, but with no luck. Eventually, he spawns some of his minions, and I hoped that if I killed all the minions, this phase would end and he'd return to the ground. Unfortunately, he will just keep spawning those minions endlessly, all the while throwing incredibly powerful magic attacks at you. So, with a heavy heart, I pulled out my crossbow, dusted off the mold and cobwebs, and started blasting. My goal was to shoot him as few times as absolutely necessary, ideally just enough to get him down, but no, he remains in the air for the rest of the fight, and I wasn't even able to deliver the killing blow with my stick. Well, damn it. My reward for this disappointment is a sword I can't use and that I immediately throw away. And with that, we have reached where the original Fable ends. Since this is the anniversary edition, the story does continue directly into the Lost Chapters expansion, but there's no way in hell I'm doing that right now. We're calling it here. And no, you cannot beat Fable with just a stick, but it can get you through most of the game. It'll just take a long time. So, thank you for watching. To anyone who would complain that magic or potions made this challenge too easy, I would say, yes, you're probably right, but I would also argue that removing them would make the challenge borderline impossible, and it would be hard to come up with a set of rules that would get the difficulty somewhere in the middle. I've thought about doing this challenge and making this video for a very long time, and I'm very glad I did. It turned out to be a lot of fun. I'll definitely make more, though not just about Fable. So check by sometime, and until then remember, speak softly and carry a big stick.